Over the years, we've seen theme parks become more and more expensive. It seems like every chain is always raising their ticket price or season pass price in some capacity. And because of that, going to a theme park has become a luxury that many people just can't afford. Theme parks operate like movie theaters in the sense that once you're in, you're basically in a bubble and they can charge whatever they want. Like, where else are they charging $8 for a non-alcoholic drink this big? Well, I'm here to say no more. A little while ago, I released a video talking about the tactics theme parks use to make you spend more money so you can be more aware of your spending for your next visit. But today, in this video, I'm going to be telling you how you can combat those tactics and save money on your next trip to a theme park. These will range from your average Six Flags parks to the straight up robbery that occurs at Disney parks. So without further ado, let's get into all of the tactics.
No money, no ticket.
Let's start with tickets because you should be getting those before you even get into the park. Now, you can get these from the park website, and sometimes they'll have bundles or it'll be a little bit cheaper than getting it at the park front gate, but for the most part, it will be the same. If you really want to save money, you should use a third-party ticketing website like Orlando Fun Tickets. Obviously, Orlando Fun Tickets only works in Orlando. Now, buying secondhand tickets might sound a little sus, but just think of it how you'd use like Fandango or something to get movie tickets. This works really well in places like I said before, Orlando and LA, where these third-party ticket sellers will have massive bundles with a bunch of different parks in the area. Tickets can get pretty expensive, but they're a good indicator of how expensive the rest of your day will be. For a general rule of thumb, I say you should budget 1/3 of what you spend in your ticket for spending in the park per person. So if you get a newly priced $189 peak single day ticket to Magic Kingdom, then you should budget roughly $60 to $65 per person for the whole day. That can obviously fluctuate depending on what and where you eat in the park, which actually brings me to the next and probably most important topic of this video: food. This is where parks really start pickpocketing you. Parks have profit margins of up to 900% on food and drinks because they know people will eat pretty much whatever garbage you put on their tray. It's commonly known that theme park food is really expensive and really not that good. And even though people know this, they still buy it anyways. Well, I'm here to tell you that that doesn't have to be the case. The first thing I'd like you to cut out is the snack. I'm sorry, I know you love your Instagrammable Mickey Mouse Pops or Harry Potter popcorn, but these suckers are gonna cost you an arm and a leg. One thing you might not know is that Disney parks let you bring in any food. So if you bring a backpack, which I would definitely recommend, I would say bring something to munch on in line. This could be fruit, this could be pretzels, chips, I don't really care. It's just an easy way to save like 10 bucks per person. And to other parks besides Disney parks that don't usually let you bring food in, I have 3 magic words: gluten-free snacks. I've used this so many times on things that are just clearly not gluten-free, but it flies every time. As long as you take it out of the packaging and put it in a separate plastic bag, then this trick will have your back. And usually security will just let you through with them. But you can't exactly cheat meals. The park gates probably won't let you through with a whole ass sandwich claiming they're gluten-free. They will at Disney, but in my experience, bringing your own lunch just kind of sucks. You gotta find a random place to sit. The sandwiches are usually soggy by then and they don't even taste that good, and you gotta lug around all that extra weight for the entire morning. I'd say just suck it up and buy your lunch and dinner. One thing to keep in mind is you definitely want to eat breakfast before you get to the park. Don't be caught in friggin' Starbucks or, you know, some random cafe in the morning during prime riding hours. If you want to know how to reduce your weights and when the morning is the best time to ride to the rides in the back of the park, then check out my video on how to never wait in lines. I'll put it in the card or the description somewhere. I don't know, it shouldn't be very hard to find. But for lunch and dinner, I'd say definitely go to a quick service restaurant. I know it can be tempting to go for a sit-down meal, especially if there's something really nice, but these restaurants can get crazy expensive. Even quick service is expensive. Look at this $15 slice of plain-ass pizza. No toppings, no nothing. And a plain pie is $35. That is absurd. Imagine how expensive it is to sit down with that quick service. Now, there are a couple ways to avoid spending your life savings on some mid-food. First, avoid food stands that are placed right outside ride entrances and exits. I know this is kind of hard with parks with a lot of rides, but at least avoid food right near the major coasters. You know how when you get off Grand Central in New York City, there's a cart with soggy pretzels charging $8 a pop, but then if you walk like 2 blocks down, you'll find the same exact soggy pretzel for like $3. It's the same thing at these theme parks. This particular pizza place was at Six Flags Great Adventure, right by Nitro's entrance and the newly built Jersey Devil coaster. These are 2 of the park's biggest and most popular rides, so of course this price is going to be insane. Another thing to avoid is big brands. I know the Chick-fil-A's and the Johnny Rockets are going to be tempting, but they, even more so than random quick serve restaurants, will burn a hole in your pocket. And logically, it seems like these would be safe because they're chains, so they would have to have uniform pricing, right? But no. If anything, they're more expensive than the theme park owned chains. I'd usually also stay away from those merch cups, like, because realistically, how many times are you going to be getting a drink? If you just get 1 drink at each meal with only 2 meals, it's not going to cost you as much as that $20 drink cup. I know it didn't really have to do with food, but it was kind of just something I wanted to mention in this section. Now, if you look online for some reason, the #1 tip to save on food is to pack a cooler in your car and leave leave midday to eat in the parking lot. I really don't know who is doing this, because like this is maybe the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. You don't leave the movie theater halfway through the movie to get snacks from the CVS across the street and then eat at the CVS before going back to the theater. You don't leave the movie theater during the movie, period. I know that wasn't the best analogy, but you get what I'm saying. Don't leave the park to eat in the parking lot. You're not homeless. Just stick to the other strategies and enjoy your food in the park. Next thing I want to talk about is what to pack, because this is kind of important. You don't want to get caught lacking in the park with something that you could have just thrown in your bag, but now you have to buy for like triple the price. First, definitely pack sunscreen. You can also just put it on in the morning because you don't really have to reapply. It's not like a beach, you're not sunbathing, but it's always nice to just have it just in case you go on a water ride or something. Also pack those snacks and water bottles like I mentioned before. One thing a lot of people might not pack though is a poncho. You'd be shocked at how many times it started downpouring on me at theme parks. This happens a lot at the lovely swamplands of Florida, and sometimes you can just wait it out because it's passing, but sometimes you're gonna need those ponchos. And let me tell you, those suckers are not cheap at the park. Last thing I'd say is bring a backup charger of some sorts. This is not really going to save you money because I've never seen a park selling a backup charger, but it's just good to have one of these. Those are really the only things I'd say are like essential. There are a couple other things that you can bring, but you won't necessarily need them. So I'll just throw up a list on the screen, but just keep in mind, I'm not saying you need these to be successful and to save money. I'm just saying they're nice to have. Next, let's talk about park merch. Now, of course, you know the trick is all this time where the park puts gift shops right after the ride. Your adrenaline is pumping after you get off a big coaster and suddenly you see a cool shirt that you like. Seems like the perfect time to buy it, right? No. First of all, this is going to be hella expensive. If you really want to get park merch, I'd first get it online, but I know some people aren't going to do that. So at least second, don't buy it in the ride gift shop. That's where it's going to be most expensive. Save your merch buying for the end of the day once you've calmed down, you've ridden everything you want to, and you know your favorite rides. You're probably spending less because you won't be buying things every ride and just racking up little trinkets throughout the day. But really, I just recommend buying merch online. Trust me, no one's going to be able to tell the Mickey ears are from Amazon, not from Magic Kingdom. The only person who will tell is your wallet. Another thing I want to touch on is Fast Pass, or Skip the Lines, or Genie, or whatever the park calls it. Now, as you can see, these are pretty expensive, so I'd avoid buying them at all costs. Sometimes they are necessary for your sanity, but I'd say you can most of the time just not buy them and be perfectly fine. If you're going on a weekday during the school year, then you'll never need one of these. Even a weekday during the summer at some parks is manageable, except like the Florida parks, Disneyland, and Cedar Point. But weekends are a bit more of a gamble. I'd say Saturdays you're most likely going to need one, summer or school year, but I've gone to a couple major parks like Hershey Park on a Saturday or Silver Dollar on a Saturday in the summer, where I've been able to get on everything, sometimes even more than once, without a Fast Pass. Now, I know not everyone can be as slick as me and have the perfect plan for what rides to hit when, but if you want to try, then again, I have that Lines video where I'll give you all my tips and tricks. But I'm being serious, there is a way to finesse your way out of Fast Pass for most parks if you really do your homework. The only park I'd say it's absolutely necessary at are Disney and Universal parks and Cedar Point. But even for these parks, if you're doing any of these parks for more than one day, which a lot of people do, you might not even need it. The one time I'd say that you really do need it, no matter your planning ability, is during a break or the holiday season. This is going to be your spring break or your Christmas break, whenever you go. Disney and Universal is a must. I'm sorry, but you can't go to Disney at Christmas time and expect anything less than 2-hour waits. Okay, so real quick to end off this video, I'm just going to run through a bunch of tips I have for you that don't really fall into any larger money-saving tactic. I'm just going to rattle them off one by one. Here we go. Never buy park hoppers. They're really expensive, and the odds of you actually getting your money worth are really slim. The only parks that I know offer park hoppers are Disney parks, and trust me, you'll need a full day for any Disney park you go to. You don't need travel agents. I know they make it a lot easier, but finding a travel agent to get you the best deals is paying someone to help you pay less. Like, you're still paying the same amount, just to different people. If you do your homework, you couldn't do it by yourself. The carnival games are a scam. We already knew that. Just don't play them. Never do character meals. While it's cool to eat with big stuffed characters for kids, it's unbelievably expensive and takes up a lot of time. Just take a picture with them outside or in the booth or wherever they're walking around. And finally, don't cheap out in the hotel. I know this might sound counterintuitive, but just try and stay on site if you can. It'll cost a lot more upfront than like a random motel, but like A, it'll just be nicer, and B, it'll save money in other aspects. One of these aspects is transportation. A lot of major parks will have some sort of system, like a shuttle system or a bus system, connecting the hotel and the park, and in some cases you can just walk. You also sometimes get dining pass discounts or straight up free stuff like drink passes. It all depends on the park, but if you stay at a 3-star motel that's a 20-minute drive away, you won't get any benefits. Now, obviously, this is all fine and dandy. It's great to save money, but you just have to remember you're still going to a theme park. Like, there's still some things that are going to cost money, but are fully worth it to get the full experience. Like, you should definitely buy the butterbeer at Harry Potter World, even though I made fun of it earlier, because that's just how you do Universal. Universal. Same thing with Blue Milk and Star Wars Land. At the end of the day, you just have to make sure that no matter how much you spend, you're getting your money's worth by having a good time. You can't really put a price tag on fun, so if you enjoy yourself, then ultimately it's worth it. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching to the end, and I hope this was helpful. I will see you in the next one.